people. So most of time they follow the what we call their Bibles or their books, and if it is not related to the book, if it is contradicted to the book, they will not take it. That's the reason why, and the previous presentation by Pak Azhar, okay, is mentioned about the declines of people that believe in Christianity because it's not really related to the daily life or maybe the science. So we know about the Galileo, Copernicus, that they have they had to be persecuted because of their belief about science. So in Islam, it's really different actually. It's really different because in Islam, it's actually science or the knowledge is kind of encouraged. It is encouraged. Even it's actually obligations for all Muslim men and women to seek knowledge, including the knowledge of religions and science. That's the reason why most of the people that convert to Islam, especially if they are, they are educated, they like Islam because this Islam, this religion is not really contradictory with the scientific knowledge. We also have this. This is the time when many religious people, the scholars in Islam, they also have knowledge in science. They have become the first scientists that actually found many scientific equipments. Yeah. So we have what we call in Islam, we have what we call the golden age of Islam. So this is actually done when it is in Baghdad, when we have the Caliphate Abbasiyah. They start to learn about science. And from this, we know several names, like for example, Ibn Haytham, we have Al-Khawarizmi. This is really famous in math. He was the one that developed the algebra. And so this is my colleague Park, which is over here in math. Omar Khayyam, Ibn Khaldun, and the first university that is developed actually by Muslim, University of Qarawin. This is the first university in the world. And then after that, there is also Al-Azhar University. This is during the Fatimid era. So Al-Azhar is actually coming from the Fatima, which is the daughter of our beloved Prophet Muhammad SAW, Fatima Al-Zahra. So it's become Al-Azhar. That's coming from her name. Now, when we talk about Islam, of course, we talk about Quran, because Quran is the book of Islam. And when we compare with Islam and other books, in Islam, there is no contradiction at all in science. There are no contradictions at all in science. That's the reason why many Western people, especially the ones that have a higher education, when they read Quran, sometimes they feel something. Oh, this is actually what is Islam about. This is why Islam is actually really correlate with the science itself. I'm sorry. So when we read Quran and we read verses by verses, you will not find actually any verses in the Quran that contradict with science. There is none. And also there are a lot of verses in the Quran that encourage people, not only Muslim but all people to think, to learn knowledge, to learn science. And also, this is the one that I'm going to talk, which is in the Quran, provides many clues about science. The clues that at that time actually it was not there yet. Not even the equipment for this, looking for this clue or finding this clue is there. So how Quran able to say that? This is the reason why Muslims or many people believe that Quran is not written by human. It is given by God to the prophet, and then the prophet telling us. The prophet itself is not really, don't have that knowledge unless it is given by the God. Next. Okay, I'm gonna talk some of them, maybe one or two because we don't have enough time. This is the one that is very important, and if we compare with other religions, you're gonna see that in the Quran, especially when we talk about the embryonic human embryo development, is very clear. At that time, just for your information, there is no equipment to see the embryo inside the mother womb. But Quran told us there is stages in the embryo development. Like for example, in Surah Al-Mu'minun, Surah number 23, 12, 14, God mentioned about these stages. Okay, start from, for example, the nutfah, okay, the seed, which is in science, it is kind of fertilization between egg and the sperm. And then after that become what? Become an embryo. And become embryo, become a fetus. And become a fetus, what happened? It's become ahor. Ahor means another creation. It means that starting from one cell, which is the zygote, is developed into something else that is really different. Not one cell anymore, it's become human being. Quran said that. And then there was no equipment to see that development inside the mother wombs. You can imagine that. Who said that? Unless it is coming from God. Information from God to the prophet. Okay? So this is just kind of similarity, the stages in the Quran, and the stages in the science that is just developed several hundred years ago, not even 100 years ago. Yeah, when we have the equipment to see that, and then Quran says there is a nutfah, and they say that actually similar to the zygote fertilization, and then there is alaqah, it's similar to like gastrulations, blastosis, that later it will stay in the mother womb, in the rahim, we call it, and then become embryo, and then become mudghah, idoma, which is neurola, bones, creating the bones, and then after the bones, Quran says the bones will be covered by lahma. Lahm means meat, the muscle. And that's actually happening. That development, if you learn about the human embryology right now, that's actually what's happening. That's really, so things that outside our mind. Because at that time, 1500 years ago, again, there was no equipment that able to see this process, but it's already told. Right? This is now look at what. This is again what the Prophet Muhammad SAW mentioned about the development of embryos. What Prophet Muhammad said is very similar what the Quran said, and also very similar with the scientific development. But in this case, Prophet Muhammad SAW talking about another thing, which is the spirit. So the spirit, in the embryology, if you learn about knowledge, mostly about material things, they do not talk about spirit. But in this hadith, what we call the saying of Prophet, it's mentioned about spirit. The spirit will be blown into the physical body of the fetus after 120 days, after about 4 months. And that's what happens when the science do this. Yes, they found it is about 16 weeks. The embryo start to kind of moving, start kind of develop, start to what we call alive. That's when the spirit entered into the physical of the embryo. And Prophet Muhammad SAW said that 1500 years ago. 1500 years ago. And then nobody knows about it, right? And now the science say, yeah, that's about the time when you can check the embryo, the fetus is actually start to alive, start to, maybe kick it inside the mother womb and etc. After about that 120 days or 16, okay, 16 weeks. This is just comparison. This is something that other religions mentions about embryo. What they said that the embryo is actually, is when the Islam say it start from zygote, become embryo, blastura, morula, and etc. stages. What they said in this book, they said that the embryo is actually, when God created human, it's just like a baby doll, small, already have head, the body, the head, and it's just growing inside the mother's womb. You can imagine that. That's actually even about 1,000 years after Prophet Muhammad SAW passed away. They still have that kind of knowledge. Quran said it's not like that. So which one is actually true? The Quran, which is about 1,000 years before this development actually. They still don't have any idea about the development of human embryo. And then just this is one of the professors in Canada, human anatomy and physiology, that become Muslim because of seeing this and reading this about the human development embryo, the stages. And then he said, this is the truth. This is the one that really follow with the science. Just continue all the way. There are other things, just continue. That's mentioned in the Quran. Okay, I don't have time to give you all of this. Right? It's just one more message. And there are many other things that mentioned in the Quran that have been proven to be true, and maybe will be also proven to be true. Because again, in the Quran, there's no contradiction at all between the religions and the science. Okay, so Islam encourages again the follower to seek knowledge, and the commitment in Islam, science could be have contributed to the Muslim population. That's what I mentioned in the first time, that many people that educated actually they convert to Islam because they read, they use their logic. But if you see in some Islamic country, many Muslims convert to other religion. Most of the time it's not because they are using their logic, sometimes because of their condition. The poor people sometimes convert to other religion because of something else. But most people that convert to Islam usually the one that use their logic. Because in Islam, we have to use our logic and our heart in order to be believers. I hope that presentation is give you some information about religions and science, especially Islam, and the encouragement to seek knowledge in science. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Pak Agus. Shall we move to next presentations, and then when we end up with the last presentation, then we come up with the
The questions that I would like to ask is for Prof. Agus Sopyan, who is talk about Islam and science. Yeah. I think we totally agree that Islam and science is union. It is inseparable. But the problem is more about epistemological polemic that we should know, or there is a kind of cultural barrier. But the thing that I really want to know, if Islam really support the science, why does Muslim countries in this world still left behind, very far from the European or American countries who focus on science and technology. Okay, we have a great history about the Muslim scholars like Al-Kindi, Ibn Sina, but it is over. But it is not happen right now. What is actually the problem? So I really curious, Prof. Agus share why so we don't just talk about the something happen very far. We want to know, not many Muslim scholars got the what we call Nobel because the science discovery, even maybe one if we compare with the American scientists, we still left behind very far.
Yeah.
That's all that I want to know.
Please,
Okay, so thank you very much. That's a very good question actually. This is our problems right now. Why Muslims, scholars, scientists, they don't really like other Western science. It actually started back after that golden era. There's an attack on Baghdad, and then with the Mongols armies, they actually burned the whole city of Baghdad, including they burned all the books, the scientific books that the Khalifa in the Baghdad library had. So we lost a lot of information about them. We lost a lot of information, and after that, what happens? The Western countries start to, they start to realize that we have to do something about a science. They become the golden era. Until right now, that's the golden era. And then there's another thing that's happening is actually in some country, they start to going back to the traditional teaching, which is they separated the science and religion. They say that science, is a dunya, is the worldly, knowledge. That sometimes it's not obligation for us to really learn about the science because this is a worldly things. And then what we have to do is just learn about religion, learn about fiqh, learn about everything that related to ritual. And then sometimes they say this is if you learn about dunya, about the worldly life, or worldly things like a science, it is gonna take you away from the religion. So this kind of thing is kind of make science in Islam is become, it's a decreasing. And then maybe about 1970, they're starting over some scientists, especially in Pakistan, they started to, put another development in science. We have the scientists like Abdul Salam, etc. from Pakistan, and then I think around 1980, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, they have the first conference in scientific miracles of Quran. That's actually the things that right now some Muslims scientists, and they are Muslim scientists, they start to think, yeah, we actually have to develop this again. And then in United States, we actually have what we call the 3IT, International Institute of Islamic Thought. That also they try to put Islam on the map again, but it's not there yet. It's not there yet. We hope that sometime scientists, especially Muslim scientists, will also become part of the science in the world. So it's not there yet, but we hope we will be there. We will be there. I hope this answered the question.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but still, since we are running out of time, so are we gonna have like an extension for?
So we're supposed to be done by 4:30. What time now?
Now it's 4:22.
So probably one or more questions.
Yeah, if you have one question, let's say.